we do have a question here for you. What is your definition of colorblind? So would you define it for people? Because there is this issue, right, of like some people defining colorblindness as, oh, I just don't see race, and that's how we should be. You know, we shouldn't be encouraging people to be blind to race. But that's not kind of what you're totally saying here, right?
Yeah, I guess I have used the word colorblind a little loosely. So my interpretation of being colorblind is not having an awareness of race or the effect of race in a person, in a relationship, or in an interaction. So I suppose I can see how other people interact along racial lines, but I don't intuitively understand it myself. I don't think, oh, they're black, they're gonna be like a black person. I don't know.
No, yeah. No, I think
that's a bad answer. I'm sorry.
No,
but
I actually like your answer because you said the key word that you used in your definition was a lack of awareness, right? Like that you don't have awareness. So I think that is really a really important distinction because the traditional way people are using colorblindness now indicates an awareness, but a choice to kind of just not engage with that dynamic, right? So a lot of people would use it to say that what you should do is like you should continue being the way you are, right? Not seeing those racial dynamics, and that's totally fine because if everyone doesn't see it, then it'll just go away. And I think that at this point we know that is clearly a falsehood, and I'm so glad that you haven't gone down that path because we would have some problems, bro.
We're not going to have any problems. We have seen comments like that in prior shows of that. I don't judge people based on race and other people shouldn't. And so let's not support a system that rewards or tries to equalize victimhood.
Or even
right.
Like we shouldn't even be identifying people by race. And just by doing that, it'll solve everything, right?
Yes, and when we start our colony on Mars, maybe we can do that. I don't know, but we certainly can't do that right now. And that's why I kind of I've started to see like my own blind spot of that, where I suppose I've had an awareness of color when it's like an externality to other situations. Like for instance, when we would meet up in New York City and I'd hail you a cab to go uptown, I would be the one hailing the cab because of this. So I'm clearly aware that I'm white and I will be able to hail a cab when they're not going to stop for you. And so we do the switcheroo and you get in the cab.
I mean, just so everyone's clear on this, like, so you actually noticed that cabs weren't picking me up, right? Like yes. you observed that, right? Yeah. So, I mean, I think sometimes when a lot of people hear black people, as they would say, whining or complaining or this and that about like their experience, it's totally different experience, right? When you view it, right? When you observe it with your own two eyes and you see that something is going on. I've had this experience a lot of times with many of my white friends. Majority of my friends are white, and so I've experienced this a lot where like I'll talk about my experiences with racism, right? I'll talk about my experience as a black man, but oftentimes traditionally they've been diminished or kind of just like brushed off, ignored, or thought of as a misperception on my part. So that has been the traditional answer. But then there's always a moment where this barrier is broken and someone is with me, they're observing a situation, they see something happen and they're confused. And oftentimes that confusion is resolved by them having a realization that, oh, it's because you're black that this happened to you. And that's like the one situation that they've observed, but all the other ones that they haven't observed, right? It's a little bit harder for them to accept and believe and internalize because they have no way of verifying it for themselves. So yeah, I don't remember why I was bringing that up, but
Well, I think you were bringing it up because it shows that I did have some type of awareness over skin color, and I have observed racist actions or effects or something like that before, but I don't think I understood it enough to be truly aware. Maybe I treated it more like a novelty, like, haha, Will, let me catch you a cab uptown because you can't do it. And they'll stop for
and that's
me.
kind of how I treated it too, right? Like, I mean, I was just like, at that time of my life, I was just in full acceptance mode, you know, of just like, this is my life right now. This is what we have to do. This is what we were doing, right? We were just trying to grow and live and you know, become men, you know, and in the big city. And so this wasn't something, was I complaining about it? Was I like whining about it? No, we were just doing it, you know? Of course it was unfair and it was like BS, but you know, we just made it work as we're taught to do.
Yeah, I think teaming up, like teaming to me has always been important. So at least teaming in that situation was a way to kind of get around this persistent level of racism, I suppose. But I definitely didn't truly understand that, and I did not understand how persistently negative the environment is for Black people, or could potentially be for Black people. So if something happens to you only one time, you know, that can definitely make you rethink every single other interaction that you have going forward, even though it only happens one time. Or if it happens to somebody else because they're Black, you're thinking, oh, this could happen to me at any moment because I'm Black too. I have nothing to do with whatever their situation was, but just the fact that I'm Black, I'm in danger of this. It's yet another risk. Maybe it's super low risk, but it's still yet another risk. So it's kind of since the show started, and since I started moderating, and I've just tried to actively listen to everything that you and the guests have talked about, and it's been really awesome. So the point I was getting to with the inspiration part was that I wanted to talk to other people about racism. And I've been talking to a coworker of mine who is Black, the guy I invited on a bike ride. And we've had some really deep conversations about racism, about his kind of childhood growing up in Philadelphia. He's a little bit older than us. And he was talking about people burning crosses in his high school front lawn. He was talking about a race riot. It's just some crazy stories that I haven't experienced. But I think listening to him more and more, listening to you and rethinking a lot of the things that I've seen have definitely caused me to be more empathetic. And I know that some people see Black people and other, you know, minority racial groups as whining and complaining about everything. And I see this persistent kind of theme of, oh, they need to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. We've talked about it on the show plenty of times. I've seen other white people talking about it. Oh, they just need to, like, you know, put in the work. They just need to be quiet. You know, their loud mouths are causing the problem. They're causing the problem, and they just need to apply themselves or whatever. And
to reach their full potential, right?
right. It's here, or is it here? I don't know where that full potential is, but we're at about a here potential. Yeah, if they just applied themselves, they would get up to here. No, it is pretty ridiculous, and I think it shows a theme: lack of empathy and a lack of willingness to really see through somebody else's eyes. And one of the other conversations I've had with this coworker, he was talking about every time he sees a police car, he's got to think, oh, are they going to turn around? Are they going to pull me over? And could they think I have a gun or do something else and get shot? And that kind of gave me a moment of realization where I've seen police cars. I've been worried that they're going to, pull around and pull me over for not breaking the law. Oh, I got a. Do you hear any type of noise?
Nope, you're clear.
Okay, good. Sorry, I got a headphone. It's playing in these things. So I've been worried about being pulled over by police before, but I've never once thought that could be a situation where they would pull out their guns and shoot me, ever. And my coworker thinks about it all the time. And he has more experience in life with me. He's higher up in our food chain at work. He's really intelligent, very educated, just an awesome guy. And he thinks about that every single time he sees a police car. And, I can't understand the viewpoint of somebody that says, oh, he's just whining, because it's very much documented that this stuff happens all the time. I've seen plenty of videos. And the other fact is, if it only happens one time, like I was saying before, if it only happens one time, boom, that's got to be like a factor now in your calculus for the rest of your interactions. If it happens to somebody else just because of that, then you're thinking, oh, now I'm at risk because this is something that Black people are at risk for. So, yeah, it's just I've been having a lot more like very deep realizations about true race differences, and I think there's some problems being white and not really understanding it that I'm working through. They're in my list of topics here, so we'll get to them. But yeah, I think just a basic awareness of what racism actually is in daily life is missing. We're not getting an education. Like, it says something that my overall like understanding of racism is like, you're either like KKK burning crosses, or you're like a neo-Nazi wearing a swastika shirt and like looking around for minority groups to beat up or something like that. That's not what most of the real racism experiences are. They're subtleties. They're also, something that maybe there's a one-sided interpretation. So my coworker is driving down the street. There's a police car driving down the other way. Maybe the cop isn't even interested in him, doesn't even see him, doesn't even see that he's Black, just like going to a different call or on his way back home or something like that. Doesn't even see. But my coworker has this one-sided interpretation. Hey, that's a police car. I could be in danger. I could be in mortal danger. It's happened. It could happen. There's maybe a minimal chance of it happening, but I don't want to take any chances with just being shot to death by anybody for the color of my skin. So I think that lack of awareness in the mainstream, and that kind of lack of empathy or even openness to being empathetic and viewing these, real life feelings and events and context. It's a real hindrance to our society now.
Yeah, and to making racial progress. I like that you said the willingness to be open to being empathetic, because I think that is key. Ultimately, people talk about this, and I have talked about it in the past as there being a lack of empathy issue in America in regards to race. But ultimately, as I've been doing more research, talking to people on social media, talking to people in my everyday life, having a racism discussion group in my local community, having had these conversations over 3 decades, kind of, behind the scenes underground. Now in public light, I think for me, my experience anyway has been that people are not very open to being empathetic to people of other races. That people don't really want to understand, and that's the hardest part sometimes. Is that I'm fighting so hard to make sure that there's a platform for us to discuss these issues, so that we can get guests on who can educate us and like move us forward, so that we don't have to continue living in an environment where there's like a large portion of the population who are totally ignorant that these issues even exist, because that is a surefire way to make sure that they're perpetuated. Thanks for watching. For access to the full-length conversation and all of the 2-hour-long unedited conversations that I've had on race, click the support link in the description below. Thanks for your support, and see you next time.